So I've got my hands on something very cool. Randomly I found a Swedish company called Klotz, and they are making distortion pedals. Curious as I am, I decided to get one of these. They're one-channel distortion box, and I have been diving deep into it the last weeks. But before we're going further with this distortion pedal, I gotta clear one thing out. This is not Klotz, the cable company that we're all familiar with. This is a fairly small company from Sweden. And since I'm a Swede, I get very curious when I hear about a new company making guitar stuff that is from my own country, right? And since actually I don't have many distortion units apart from amplifiers and rack gear, I found this to be a great opportunity to expand my array of pedals, and a great fun way to get to know this company and their products. So let's move on to the Klotz single channel distortion box. If you are familiar with the most common distortion boxes out there, you probably have noticed that this has a similar design to the Friedman BEOD. Me myself haven't used that pedal ever, so I can't really say how similar they are in sound, but that's one thing that I wanted to mention. So this has a very cool design, I think. I love this pitch black color, and the white text makes it so that you don't really can get lost on this one. Runs on 9 to 12 volts with a cable. Has a 4-band EQ, so bass and treble, but also presence knob, which you usually find on amplifiers, controlling the upper frequencies on the power amp section. But here we got it in a pedal. And also a tight knob, so you're going from a more open or loose sound to, as the name suggests, a tighter sound. And we will see how that is in reality. And also volume and gain, simple as that. And one important thing to mention is that it has an internal trim pot located right in the middle. So that affects the gain level, and also I would say the gain structure. You find that the distortion reacts in a different way, not only gain level but also in compression and response to your picking and all. If you're gonna use this as an overdrive to perhaps boost an amplifier or something, you might want to turn down that internal trim pot. And if you want to use this as a high gain distortion box, you might want to crank this one, perhaps not all the way up, because this one has plenty of gain in it, I tell you. So perhaps almost all the way up or somewhere in between. And somewhere in the middle of the high and low settings on this trim pot is where I have found my sweet spot to be in how I use this pedal the most, which is as a pure distortion box into a clean amplifier. And while we have this pedal opened up, I just want to mention that the cabling and soldering and all inside is very nicely done. This is quality. So as I mentioned, you can use this one as a boost, as an overdrive, or as a distortion. You can use it in front of an already overdriven amplifier on the edge of breakup to push it even further. It has all the ranges, really. The way that I'm gonna demonstrate it today is I'm gonna plug the guitar straight into this one and onto the 2-Nuts Torpedo cab simulator, where I also have the power amp section turned on. So this is basically my preamp, and that's it. I'm gonna put on a little bit of reverb just to make it a bit more pleasant to listen to. And I'll try to cover all the ranges, and we'll also tweak the internal trim pot, and let's dive into it. Gonna be real fun. So here is my clean sound. And we'll turn on the Klotz distortion box now. I got the internal trim pot set to the lowest possible point. The gain knob on the outside is all the way down. The volume is where I find the unity level to be. And we'll work our way from there, right? So here is what we got. All right. All right, really digging this crunchy territory that we're in, slightly overdriven. You wanna chunk those blues chops, right? Okay, so we'll raise the gain and see what happens. So very natural sounding, do you hear that? Feels like I'm playing an amp, really. Okay. We'll raise it all the way. Okay, when I play, I really feel there's a natural, very beautiful compression going on here. So it's feels very responsive, very nice to play. Alright, so now I'm gonna turn up the internal trim pot a bit, and we'll see what happens with the gain levels and the response and all. And we'll tweak around a bit with the EQ knobs. Okay. Now I've set the internal trim pots up 1/3 of its range, and the outer gain knob is on 9 o'clock, and here's what we've got. So now we have dived into the distortion territory. Not the heaviest distortion, but still. Very nice response. I'm really digging how this pedal gives such a pure distortion sound. Feels very natural when you're playing. So I've raised the gain knob, so now it's straight up, and we will explore the EQ. And as an icing on the cake, this one has a presence knob. And my suggestion, if you're using this as a distortion box, is to dial in the bases of your sound with the bass and treble knob, and use the presence knob to do that final bit of your character. And you can go from a more mellow sound to a more in-your-face sound. You don't want to do that with the treble knob, because that sound would be unusable in extreme settings. I'll show you what I mean. So you see, it's getting very harsh and nasty at higher settings. And when you're dialing it back too much, it's not a very pleasant tone. I mean, you're almost losing your guitar sound, sort of. But I should mention that these extreme bass and treble settings are very nice to have on tap. Perhaps you're using this as a boost or stacking pedals, and you will find a use to do that. But now we're using this as a distortion, so I would dial in the fundamental sound with a bit more delicate moves on the bass and treble. And with the presence, I would do that final bit of the character. So something like this. And I can go from there to perhaps I want a more mellow sound. Very far down now, but still very usable. Now I'm all the way down. And we're going the opposite direction. So the presence knob is something you would usually find on an amplifier affecting the power amp section. But having it on a pedal like this and being able to do the final adjustments on the upper EQ is very usable, making this a very flexible pedal that you can really use as an amp in a box. Very nice feature. Now we'll focus on the tight knob, which is a very interesting feature. My impression is that when you're setting it to more loose levels, so to speak, it gives you a more sort of brutal sound. It reminds me of older Doom sounds, but that's, from my experiences. And dialing it up, I would say, to my ears, it makes a more modern sound, and a sound that I would use more often in rhythm situations. So yeah, I'll show you what I mean. So now we've got it pretty tight. We'll loosen it up. Sounds more brutal, right? As opposed to so at extreme settings, the tight knob perhaps will bring a too thin sound for your situation. That's what I'm feeling now when I'm playing with it. But then again, it's all a matter of situation. It's all a matter of what guitar you're using. And of course, most extreme settings are perhaps not the ones you're going to use the most. But I would probably sweep around between, 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, something. And something that I found very usable in recording situations is recording rhythm guitars with the tight knob around here. So you get this sound. And then doing the lead guitars with a bit more loose bottom end. I'm gonna finish off this demonstration with a recording that I did using this approach. I put together some riffs. So 2 rhythm guitars, 1 lead guitar, drum and bass, that's it. Hope you're gonna dig it. So I'm Jonatan, and I've had many great times with this Klotz one-channel distortion box. See you around. Cheers.